Welcome back into the Mental Game. I'm your host, Brandon Saho, and this week's guest is country singer Danielle Bradbery. And I went down to Nashville to talk with Danielle about her music career, which started at just 16 years old when she won The Voice. Now, the last 10 years, she's become a country star. We talk about the ups and downs of the music industry, also her personal life with anxiety, relationships, therapy, and much, much more. I can't wait to share this conversation with all of you. But before we get started, I just want to thank all of you again and remind you, if you're loving the Mental Game, please like, subscribe, rate, review, tell your family, your friends, everyone you know, as we try to help as many people as possible with their mental health. So without further ado, it is now time for this week's episode on the Mental Game with Danielle Bradbery. Welcome back into the Mental Game. As you can see, I'm joined by a very special guest here in Nashville, country singer Danielle Bradbery. Danielle, thank you so much for coming on the Mental Game.
Yeah, of course.
This is CMA week here in Nashville, so it is a busy week. You're getting ready to perform.
Yes.
Nashville's just always popping, isn't it?
It is more poppin' than I've ever seen. I've lived here for like 8 or 9 years now, and it's just growing every day.
Yeah, it seems like it is nonstop growth.
Yeah.
Obviously, music is the fuel to that fire. First thing I ask everyone here on the Mental Game is, what does mental health mean to them? And everyone has a different answer, whether it's something that they discovered because of a traumatic event. Maybe they didn't take care of it for a long time. Then later in their life, they figured out it needs to be a priority for them. But I ask you the same thing. What does mental health mean to you?
It means a lot to me, actually. It's something that I kind of discovered later in life. Going through life.
Yeah, that's how it works.
As we get older, yes. And yeah, I'm talking about it more than I ever have, and having a platform that I do, I've learned that it's more of a blessing than anything to just lay it all out.
Yeah.
Because I know it's nerve-wracking for a lot of people. It's overwhelming. And I told myself, I was like, I want to talk about it more. So here we are.
And one of the ways you're talking about it more now is a new song called Monster, where you open up about your anxiety. Can you walk me through that song? Because it is super powerful. And I'm sure for you, it was therapeutic, like therapy, to write that. Yeah,
because songwriting... it's kind of like a therapy session. You go in there and you just talk about life, or how, for me personally, that's how my writes have gone. And just talking about life. And if these writers are your closest friends, then it's even more of just that next step of a therapy session. But Monster was kind of like that. I was in Los Angeles writing for a week, and I was with my good friend Lauren, and she was kind of my main writer the whole week with all these different writing sessions. And for the whole time, we were trying to like write an upbeat, just like, hey, fun song, whatever. And at the time, mentally, I just wasn't there. And going through a little bit of relationship problems and just all of that stuff. And I've known her since, way back, like 2017. So she's kind of seen the ins and outs of my life. Sure. And so it was actually the last day we were writing, and I was supposed to fly out back to Nashville that day. And it was just me, her, and this producer, Sam. And I was like, I am so sorry. I don't want to write an upbeat song. Like, can I just like hear some piano and just, can we talk about anxiety? And she was like, oh my gosh, yes. Cause it was something she could relate to as well. And I remember I texted her the morning before that day. And I texted her, I was like, I just keep waking up with that feeling in my gut. And it was about my relationship and all this stuff. And my anxiety was just through the roof. And those 2 years were probably the worst my anxiety has ever been. Like on my body, physically, everything. And I texted her that. And then ended up being the first line of that song.
Right.
Is woke up with that feeling in my gut. And so we wrote that song in probably a little over like 45 minutes, which doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it was shown that it was just genuine, authentic, and just real to us. And so it was really fun to just let that out.
Having fans listen to that song and hear the feedback of, I don't feel alone anymore, or I can relate to this, that has to be the most empowering part of this process, right?
It really is. And I love hearing fan stories and fans coming up to me at my shows, meet and greets, even just social media. I'm one of those where I'll sit and scroll forever, and I'll read through them. I'll look at DMs, and I can't answer back to everybody, but I try to see the comments and all that stuff on the song. And I mean, it's, I wrote it for myself selfishly in the moment. And then when I put it out, it's like, yeah, like you aren't alone. Like I go through all of this too.
Isn't it wild when you look back at, and I talked to you before we started rolling on the podcast, my story and the depression and suicidal thoughts I went to, but when you open up and talk about it, like your goal originally probably isn't, it sounds weird, but like isn't to help anyone. It's helping yourself and getting that feeling off your chest. But once you realize that other people go through it, it helps you too.
Oh yeah. I mean, I am such a fixer personality, which is kind of a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
It kind of bites me in the butt sometimes, but I always want everyone to be okay. I always check on people. I always it's more of a like responsibility for me for other people. And so, when I'm writing the song, I'm thinking about my feelings and putting it out there and letting it out on the table and singing it and stuff. But then, once I put it out, I'm like, I hope this helps you in any way possible. So it is a really fulfilling feeling. So
no doubt about it. And your career, I'm sure, has been filled with a lot of ups, some downs, anxiety, excitement. Oh, yeah. It is crazy to look back. Do I have this story right that your mom signed you up for The Voice without telling you?
Yep.
What? When did you find out? How does that work? That's a pretty big thing to sign your daughter up for.
It is. And my mom, she actually flies here to Nashville tomorrow. So I'm really excited to see her. And my fans know her just as well, which is awesome. But she, like a week before the audition, so I'm originally from Houston, Texas, and the closest audition to us was Dallas, and which is like a 3.5-4 hour drive. And she printed out like the confirmation like ticket thing, and she was like, "We're gonna go and we're gonna try." And I remember getting so mad at her. Because I gained this shyness just through middle school, high school. And I was so shy. I was like, how am I going to do that? How the heck am I going to do that? I've never even, I watched a show. I loved Team Blake Shelton and I was a huge fan of it. But I always pictured myself up there, but I never thought of the in-between of how I would get there. But my mom's like, let's just try. And I was like, oh my God, I kind of threw a fit. I was like, I was a teenager. Yeah. Threw a fit. But now I'm like, thank you, Mom.
that is such a crazy story of how a music career can start and be launched. When you do the audition and then you're in front of the judges waiting for them to turn around and you're 16 years old. Yeah. What the hell's going through your head? How scary is it?
God.
Like, are you even thinking about singing at that point? Are you so nervous seeing them?
Here's what I felt. I had just turned 16 when I went to LA and registered in, got there and everything. So I was a fresh 16-year-old. And when I walked out there with the judges, their backs are turned, everything, and it's all real, where I never talked to them or met them before that moment. And that's all real. It's not staged or anything. And I remember I could hear a pin drop in that whole studio, and I was like, okay. But I think being so young and being so just kind of naive to everything, I didn't know a thing about the music industry. I didn't know anything about a TV show. Yeah. And I think I was just so fresh that as soon as I stepped on stage, I was nervous, of course, but I think my adrenaline and everything just kind of took over. And I just did it. I just kind of blacked out for a second.
I can't imagine as a sports reporter at 16 them being like, all right, you're going to go to ESPN,
Yep.
try it out. And if you're good, you're going to start it now at 16. Like, it is a
Right.
life-changing moment, and you're still finding yourself. You're growing up.
100%.
Did you have your license when you did this?
I had my permit.
Okay, so
And they gave away cars at the end of the season, and that was my first car ever.
that's awesome. That's amazing.
I know.
When you had 2 chairs turn around.
3.
3.
Yes.
Sorry. So you
Yeah,
had 3
no, you're good.
3 turn around. That has to be like, do you like just want to stop singing at that point and start celebrating?
I don't think I noticed until I was done, which is good.
You didn't notice any of them turned around until
I
it was done?
saw like there's rows of the lights that
Right.
light up. I saw that, but I was just so focused on like singing and hitting my notes that I wasn't even paying attention to really anything. And then once I was done, I saw, the lights and who turned, and I was like, oh my God, I was so shy. Like if you look back at my audition, I was just so, what's your name? I'm like, Danielle. I was such a baby.
That it is crazy though, because you did like grow up in front of everyone, and I think about like Justin Bieber gets discovered on YouTube at 12 years old, and he grows up in the limelight, spotlight, famous from 13, 14 on. You had fame since 16, and you win The Voice. Your coach is Blake Shelton, right? And so this just all has to be a dream come true. You get the record deal, you start making music, but on the personal side of things, like, did it feel real as a 16, 17-year-old starting to go through that?
It really didn't. It really didn't. I don't think it sunk in till after I put out my first record, toured, and it was like kind of that middle, like, pause moment before my second album that it really sunk in, just everything.
Yeah.
Because after I won, we flew straight to New York to be on the Today Show. I sang my first single that I had just gotten, met my band on the plaza of the Today Show, and my mom was still with me, and just immediately went on the Brad Paisley tour. That was my first tour ever.
That's incredible.
And just, I was up here, just like going. I did radio tour, which is a lot of travel, a lot of early mornings, and just meeting so many people, gaining my team, and just everything. It was 110 miles an hour.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure it had to be a dream come true, because this is what
For sure.
you've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
But balancing music and life, like, were there low points early on or throughout the years where it was like, I don't know if I want to quit music, but this is just really, really tough on my mental health right now?
Right. There was that pause period where after all of that kind of died down, and it was before my second album, there was a few, I guess like 3 years before I put out that record, that, not much was going on, trying to figure out myself and just the plan and just everything.
Yeah.
Where I just kind of had a moment where I was like, who am I? Like, who's Danielle Bradbery? And it was, 16, I turned 17, 18, 19, and then I hit my 20s. And it was just these awkward years of like, okay, I'm becoming more of a woman.
Right.
What do I want to say? And the world always and they still kind of do, but always have looked at me like, you're the 16-year-old, like you're not allowed to grow up.
Right. That won The Voice, and that's...
Exactly. And I'm like finding myself as a woman, finding the sexy parts of myself as a woman. And there's like, and I had just started songwriting for the first time.
Yeah.
I hadn't written songs at home or anything. And my management at the time was like, you really need to try, like, just see if that's something that's a part of you. And so I did. And I eventually found my people, and my second album, I wrote like 7 or 8 out of the 10.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And it was the start of my most honest album. And so there was definitely a period where I was like, ooh, like, I'm coming down, I'm feeling that wrath. Yeah. And so I'm just figuring out everything.
But it feels like now, even though you have a song that comes out talking about your anxiety and you have those low moments, and that's the thing I try to remind people about mental health, is that you don't just get better and it stays that way forever. Feelings are temporary. So the bad ones, when you're in a really bad spot, you have to remember that this isn't going to last forever.
Yeah.
But the same with the highs and the good thoughts of this can be only temporary as well. But it seems like your career has really taken off these last couple of years and been super fun. You seem like yourself, and the music is incredible. What has that last couple of years of being comfortable, being a woman, not being that 16-year-old kid that's on The Voice that people might think you are, and establishing yourself not just in Nashville but across country music?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. And like you said, I mean, the anxiety, all these feelings that you feel, I feel like they will always be there, but you just get better at handling it.
Right.
And I definitely will go in waves. Like I said, not long ago, like 2 years ago, it was the worst it's ever been.
Yeah.
And I was good and I was on a high again. And then I like kind of came back down. And I was switching managements. I was with somebody that was not a good fit for me. And, I got in a really bad headspace. Relationships started coming into play. And, I got in a really bad headspace, but then I'm like coming back out of it, and it's been incredible.
Yeah.
The last, year and a half, and just really getting back up there. And like I said, it comes in waves.
It definitely does. For me, and you mentioned the anxiety and the relationship part of it. For me, like, I just had this feeling of being alone because I'd always wanted this marriage, kids. I thought I'd be married and have kids by 25, which is like such a, I mean, I guess you can do that, but that's just, it didn't happen. I'm 30 and I'm not there, but going through those relationship struggles, was that the biggest piece of your anxiety these last couple of years?
100%. I know how to pick them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in a relationship for 3 years. And it was one of those where like, this is him, like this is it. This is my person. And, we had gone through hell and back. I mean, throughout our whole relationship, and how we started was not your normal way of starting a relationship. Like, he was going through his own mental, crisis.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I'm a fixer. And so I just was like, I'm, there for you. I want to, help in any way I can. You cannot fix somebody. You cannot, like, you can be there for them all you want. But, there was like times we had broken up, and then my body physically feels anxiety and stress. So being in the limelight, like, they're like, oh my God, you're way too skinny. Like, you have a problem. I get my body ripped apart all the time, which causes another like little part of anxiety and, a little bit of depression. And going through this whole relationship, you can literally pull up pictures on my Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm like filled out right here. And then this picture, I'm like a little too thin and like all that stuff. And it would always happen right before I would like do a big music video or like have a photo shoot or a big thing happening. And I'm like, no, because I knew I would like lose a bunch of weight. I like my appetite just cuts off.
Yeah.
And so, yes, the relationship did a huge impact on me and just everything.
Well, I think a lot of people that watch this and listen to this can relate to that feeling. I certainly can, of like, you don't want to lose that relationship because you feel like that's the person you're in there. It can work. You can change people. You can fix them. Like you said, that's not how it works. But like, once you realize that it's not healthy for you, it takes a long time to get there. Walk me through kind of that process of realizing this wasn't right for me.
See, my problem is I give way too many chances. Way too many chances. I gave him way too many, and I just kept hurting myself over and over again. And my family and friends, they're like, my mom especially, she's like, when is it gonna like set in that he is hurting you this much?
Yeah.
Like when is it gonna take you to like realize? And she was like, you know what? I can't tell you anything. You're just gonna have to figure out on your own.
Right.
And it was actually like recently, like a few weeks ago, that it was like because we broke up like 9 months ago, but the contact wasn't off. Like it was still back and forth a lot, which is very toxic, very not healthy at all. And you know, I wanted it to still rekindle and hopefully like
you have that hope still.
Oh my gosh, I have such a hope. And yeah, like I posted a TikTok saying like it's crazy how quick things can change when you thought that was your person and now they're like a complete stranger. You thought that's the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like not till recently that it took him actually being with another woman that I was like, wow, like you can't make someone love you.
Right. Well, and you know, seeing my ex, this happened. I haven't talked about this on the show, but like I saw her, she got engaged like a few weeks ago, and I'm like, I quit drinking 4 months ago, so like, normally that'd be a bad coping mechanism for me. Where I'd go out and get super effed up and drunk and like drain my depression and those problems. But I saw that and it was like, I was already over it, but it's just kind of
it still stings.
Yeah, it's final. It's like you're like, oh, they're getting married. Okay, this definitely isn't happening. You mentioned the anxiety from that, and maybe some anxiety and depression from the way people judge you, think about your body, your looks. Were there nights through relationship struggles or career struggles that you remember being really, really depressed, or like I don't know if you've ever gone through suicidal thoughts or had things that have cut that deep, but what have been the deepest cuts for you? I
don't think I would say I've been suicidal. I have been in relationships where they have, and I've like experienced people like that, but I've definitely gotten to such a low place where it's like crossed my mind, where I'm like, I feel so helpless and just empty and lonely, even in a group of people, that I'm like, what am I doing? What am I? I've definitely had that conversation in my head and with myself. But I've been so low with just, you know, being in the spotlight and not feeling happy with myself, not even a little bit. And I'm like, I don't feel pretty. I don't feel like I'm meeting the needs of people, which is so dumb to think about. But I mean, it's natural to think about stuff like that. But you know, I've been pretty low.
the alone feeling, is that something that like you really struggled with, no matter how much fame, record sales, it's just that alone feeling was constant for you for a while?
For sure. I would go to award shows, like example, like a CMA Awards, or I'll go to like a huge event, and it was always the bigger events that would kind of like remind me of that feeling. Because I would be around all these people. It's incredible. It's such a blessing to do that and just like look to your side and there's like Keith Urban and like all these amazing people that I've always looked up to. But then I'd go home that night and I would sometimes just like cry. That sounds so
No,
intense.
I get it. Like,
but I would just be like, why do I still feel so lonely? I feel so empty. And it like there's definitely been so many of those times.
Do you feel like it's almost like you don't have anyone to call to talk about, like your best friend? Like you have friends, you have your mom, but like you don't have that person to be like, hey, I just went to this awesome show, or they're not there with you. Like, that can be, I feel like for me, that's kind of the things that I struggle with. Yeah.
And I definitely have a great support system. My family has been amazing. And I call my mom, sister, dad, like brother, I'll talk to them for hours about everything. But sometimes there is that, you know, little space where you can't fill it and you like or it's a person. So I definitely feel that for sure.
Do you go to therapy? Have you, or what are some things that you do to kind of help your mental health?
I did go to therapy, stop for a little bit. I'm actually about to start up again. And for no apparent reason, I just have kind of gone in waves with it. But recently it was something that I was like, talked to my team and was like, I think I need to go back again. You know, I feel like
might be a good time.
It might be a good time. Yeah. So, definitely therapy. I do some just like personal, just care stuff to try and calm everything down and, just try and like keep myself healthy.
Yeah. Well, how's therapy helped you in the past, and why was it something that you wanted to bring back into your life? Because for me, it took until 2020, and I had my first suicidal thoughts or depression when I was 14. It took me, I'm not good at math, like 13, 14 years to finally go get help, and I was patient zero. Why did you want to go back to therapy, and what did you like about it so much?
I just love the fact that it's somebody that is completely disconnected from your life that you can just talk to, get a whole entire, layout of this person has no idea who you are. They get to know you, but they don't know your family. They don't have a personal tie. So they are a complete outsider looking in. I loved that, outlook on it.
Yeah.
And they give you tools. They give you all these things that help a lot. And I stopped just because I thought I was okay.
Yep.
But they say, even if you're good, like just keep going. Like even if you don't come in with this sad or depressing or any story, even if it's a good day, you still go in. But I wanted to start back up again because, like I said, it's all like the waves thing. Like, I think the relationship, all that stuff, it was kind of weighing on me. And I'm like, I need to build myself back up again because I can't do it by myself.
No, everyone thinks that at some point before they go to therapy or they reach out to a friend for help, they can handle it on their own. And you really can't.
No.
For me, I mentioned like drinking was a big unhealthy coping mechanism for me. Healthy coping mechanisms, like I love listening to music. I go to Orange Theory all the time. Like I love working out. Are there certain things for you? I'm sure music is a big part of. I know it's your job, but it has to be like therapy to you as well. But what are some of the healthy things you do to take care of your mental health?
Yeah, I definitely staying active helps a lot. I had sometimes I want to start back up again. These are just like actual current thoughts I've had. But like I love boxing because it kind of just releases kind of lets some anger out.
Can I cuss? It kind of gets that shit out.
Yeah, exactly. It really does. And it's good for your mental and just like muscle memory and all that stuff. It's good for a lot of things. I love going on walks. I think those are very freeing in a way. I have a dog, so I'll take him on walks. And when I'm out on the road, me and my manager make sure we go for a walk. And I love walking, so I don't care how long it is.
Right.
But just like, staying active and making sure my space is, this sounds so weird because people hate cleaning, but I think it's a very therapeutic thing for me.
Can you come to my house? Because I do not feel the same.
I sometimes I'll get in a mode and just because that's your safe haven. That's your place.
When it's clean, you feel better.
If it's clean, you feel better. So and trust me, I am not the neatest person ever. Like my room needs a lot of help right now. But yeah, just little things like that. I don't have many, but yeah.
I brought up drinking, and then we've talked about like concerts being in the spotlight. Your alter ego, Simone.
Yes.
When does she come out? Walk me through who she is. It's not who I'm sitting next to now, apparently.
Yeah. So Simone is my middle name.
Okay.
And my team and just over the years, my band, they have called me Simone in different moments because when I'm on stage, sometimes I completely turn into this different person.
Yeah.
Or when I drink or when I get a little feisty or like get mad.
Right.
She is a firecracker.
A little too much, but maybe in a good way?
In a good way, yes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Your life now and the career, how fun has it been, and what are you looking forward to the most coming up here soon?
Oh, man. It's been a wild journey for sure. But I am looking forward to new music, actually. I was just having meetings and just conversations with my team and producers, writers, and I'm like, I finally feel like I have found my sound and my lane when it comes to making my music. And the stuff that I'm sitting on right now is probably some of my favorite stuff I've ever done, which is really exciting to say.
Yep.
So I'm really excited for all of that and just new visions. I love being creative. I love fashion. So I love pulling that into making my music as well, and photos, music video, just being creative, bringing it to life. So I'm excited about all that. I start tour in September of this year with Jordan Davis, and there's just a lot of exciting things, which is good.
Yeah, and I saw you post on Instagram recently that you were starting the album, working on the album. What do you want people, fans, to take away when they listen to songs like Monster or some of the new stuff that you feel like is probably your most powerful music?
Yeah, I want everyone to take away from it that, you know, it's okay to be honest. That's first and foremost. It's okay to be vulnerable and be a little different. Like, I love all different types of music. That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
I love country. It'll always be my home base. Like, it's like you're baking a cake. Like, that's the first ingredient.
Yep.
But I love R&B. I love twisting things up a little bit. I love mixing things. So this new music is way like different perspectives on things. It's more about life than relationship heavy. But yeah, it's a different lane, and I love paving a way. I love doing things that are different. If everything's the same, then I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I have this motto of like, I'd rather be weird than normal or different than normal. I'd much rather be not like everyone else.
Yeah. Like, why be doing what everybody else is doing? That's no fun.
Yeah.
And for listeners and fans and everybody on the outside looking in, it's like they want something exciting and new too. Like, they want to see something different, because I mean, you know, but yeah, I love, you know, just showing that I don't have to be doing everything else.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for the new music. I'm really happy we're able to have this conversation. The last thing I want to ask is, for anyone that's, I was going to say, thinking about signing up for The Voice, or maybe their mom's thinking about signing up for The Voice. But any young musician, especially young women who want to get into this business that is a grind, it's hard, it's competitive.
It is.
But you can make a career out of it, and it can be super fun and successful. What advice do you give to young musicians?
From my personal experience,
Go on The Voice.
Right. I mean, if that's something that is very heavy on your heart, then do it. I say you can do really anything you put your mind to. I was a shy girl, would sing like behind a door because I wouldn't want anyone to look at me.
Yeah.
But I did it, and I kept going, and ended up winning, which if you would have told my younger self that, I'm like, you're crazy. But my advice is just do, like I said, the whole like realness and authenticity, like really dig your feet into that. Make sure it's like embedded in you. Like, don't be anything else. Like, be you, be what your name is, be what your heart is. Because I feel like, as you know, honest and as you can be, that's more relatable to anything. So, and don't let other people turn you into something you're not. And just, it's scary. It's hard.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's not, but you know, you can do it. You can do it.
Awesome. Love all the advice. Love the new music. The song Monster is out now. Talks a lot about anxiety. Danielle, I can't thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
And we'll see everybody back here next week on The Mental Game. And that was an awesome conversation with Danielle. I can't thank her enough for opening up about her career, anxiety, therapy, and everything you just heard in that episode. Once again, the single Monster is out now. It is great when talking about mental health. Also, as she said, she is getting ready to go on tour this fall, so check it out on her social media pages to see if she is coming to your city. Coming up next week here on The Mental Game, another surprise guest. And the one hint I will give you for next week, it is a former NBA champion. Yes, a former NBA champion. And we will see everybody back here next week on The Mental Game.